Hello, hello, and welcome once again to another edition of Quoth the Raven. Lewis Bright Raven. It's been a while, folks. Haven't done a show since December last year. First off, let's introduce my joyous co-host, Jonathan Norris. Jonathan. You're Jonathan now, Dave.
Oh gosh,
John Norris and Chris Hall.
it's the first time that anybody has ever called me Jonathan.
Well, I don't know what I was doing. This is how long I've been gone away. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. He's offended. He's gonna leave now. Anyway, why have I been gone so long? For those who may remember last time we were on, my cat Midnight passed away from kidney disease. And right after the holidays, I was informed that there was something potentially wrong with me. And they didn't know what. And they sent me for labs, and I can't even think of what they're called. But it's not x-rays, CTs and stuff like that. And it took them 3.5 months to get the results back to me to tell me I didn't have cancer, which is good. But, for 3.5 months, I'm sitting here feeling like crap because I think what's wrong with me. And then we still don't know what's going on because my diabetes has gotten worse, and I started taking insulin around, what was it, March or April, I think, Chris?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And it hasn't really improved my well-being any. And then, well, Chris, tell them what happened to you.
What happened to me?
You went to the hospital.
Oh, I did. Yeah. So I'm extremely susceptible to sepsis, and I have animals, so cat scratches, dog scratches, any of that will potentially get me in the hospital. So I was in the hospital for a couple weeks.
Yeah, it was so bad that we couldn't get a hold of him, and we thought he died.
My blood sugar, it affected my blood sugar, and so that was up and down and up and down. So they were trying to get that under control and all that stuff. So
yeah, it was not good. But
we're glad you're here.
Well, thank you, John. I have emerged alive.
Yeah. Now, John hasn't had any health crises like us, but well, things kind of went in a downturn for you this year as well. You lost some of your employment prospects, and I know
so for those who don't know, I have a day job doing appeals for the GBA, part of Blue Cross Blue Shield, and I'm also a musician in addition to the community theater stuff I've done, which I continue to do. I'm also the pianist at North Trenton Baptist Church, and when I started that job, I had more responsibilities because we had a church choir back at the time. So, I had the responsibility of, being there for choir rehearsals and doing 2 services on Sunday. And now we don't have a choir anymore. And I'm still the pianist there, but it was decided that that position should be a volunteer position now instead of a paid position. So as of this month, I'm not getting paid by the church anymore. I do still have my community theater stuff that I do. I do still, do funerals and stuff on occasion that I do get paid for. But some adjustments have had to be made.
Yeah, and on the flip side, you've also got a new endeavor you've just recently started.
Yes, I have become a member of the Gideons. For those who don't know, that is a Christian organization for Christian businessmen, and if even though I don't like own a business or anything, because I work for Palmetto GBA, that qualifies me. But the Gideons they're probably best known for their Bible distributions, both in schools, and if you've stayed in a hotel, you've probably seen a Bible that was placed by the Gideons in one of those hotels. Um, so I've just recently I was recommended by a member of my church who's a fellow Gideon, and my application was approved, and here I am.
Yep. So that's what we've been doing for the last 6-8 months, is just dealing with various things going on like that has kind of taken us away from doing this for various reasons. We're not ready to come back full time, but
Hey, John. So you lost your pianist position at the church is a volunteer position now, but my recommendation would be like when they're passing around the collection plates, you could be like, "Hey, is that Jesus?"
Well, that would be a good idea, except now they don't actually pass the collection plate anymore. Now everybody either does it online, or they have boxes stationed so where you can drop your offering. So they don't, at least in my church, they don't actually pass around the offering plate anymore.
So,
But that would be tempting.
I thought maybe a good idea. Yeah, is that Jesus?
I'm just making change. Anyway, we don't do that. Church, come on now.
No.
Anyway, so
and if you're not familiar, also you may be familiar with the Gideons, who leave the little Bibles in your nightstands at hotels and stuff.
That's me as joined.
Yeah, but a lesser known group are the Kittyians, and they're responsible for little kitty cats that you find in your nightstand at hotels.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, we decided about, what was it, week and a half, 2 weeks ago, to see Supergirl. John and I did. We did not have expectations for this film. John hadn't even been planning to see it. I kind of talked him into it. And Chris said he was going to go see it, but he didn't because his brother-in-law decided not to, or whatever the situation was.
Yeah.
So we're going to go ahead and talk about the movie now.
But I do have opinions on it. So
yeah, well, we have a different. You have opinions on it for a different reason than the film itself, and we'll get to that. Supergirl 2026, directed by Craig Gillespie, written by Anna Nogueira, based on characters from DC and the comic book graphic novel Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow by Tom King and Boakye Evely. Hope I pronounced that right. Produced by Peter Safran and James Gunn, starring Millie Alcock, Matthias Schoenaerts, Eve Ridley, David Krumholtz, Emily Beecham, David Cornsweet, and Jason Momoa. Cinematography by Rob Hardy, edited by Tanya S. Riegel and Fred Raskin. Music by Claudia Sarne. Music production companies: DC Studios, Troll Court Entertainment. Perfect name for this movie because it got trolled. It's getting trolled a lot. And the Safran Company, distributed by Warner Brothers Pictures, with the release date of June 26, 2026. And I think we saw it on the 27th through the 28th. Is that right, John?
Yes, that sounds right.
Okay. With a running time of 108 minutes, or an hour and 48 minutes. Budget for the film was 170 to 186 million, 315 million after their supposed advertising budget, and their box office as of this past week was 110,866,114, so it is underperforming. What it's about. In a loose adaptation of the graphic novel Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, we find Kara Zor-El planet hopping from planet to planet, usually ones without a yellow sun where her powers aren't at peak, with her faithful companion, the dog Crypto, at her side. She's celebrating her 23rd birthday by getting trashed because she suffers from survivor's guilt PTSD after the destruction of Krypton and the death of her family and everyone else she'd known from her life on Argo City, which her father, scientist Zor-El, and his wife Allura evacuated to, along with many Kryptonians, where Zor-El had activated a force field system that separated a chunk of the city from Krypton. And unfortunately, it was destroyed, protecting them from when the planet was destroyed from the core explosion. Tragically, Argo City is poisoned by kryptonite radiation, and the population mysteriously gets sick and dies off because they didn't discover it in time and have no cure. Zor-El sends teenage Kara and a puppy Crypto to Earth as his last act, but Kara has witnessed the death of everyone and really didn't want to leave. Now, this origin is revealed in snippets throughout the movie, but I'm spelling it out up front to explain character motivation or lack thereof in context. During her excursion, Superman often calls her, concerned that she is constantly off-world and unable to settle on Earth. During one of her stops, Kara encounters Ruthie Mare Knoll, the last survivor of her family, who were murdered by Krem of the Yellow Hills, leader of a ruthless bandit group known as the Brigands. Ruthie requests Kara's assistance in her quest for vengeance against Krem, but Kara tells her no. Kara gets in a bar fight while Ruthie is told to go hide in the corner, and they bump into Lobo, the bounty hunter, who Ruthie then asks for help instead of Kara, and Lobo denies her as well. This doesn't sound very superheroish of Kara at all, now does it, folks?
Well, this is punk rock Supergirl.
Yeah. Anyway, Kara beats up some brigands in the bar, gets Ruthie her father's sword back, and she's ready to leave the planet and go on her way, but Ruthie is nagging her to the point where Krem is about to steal her spaceship from behind. Crypto, being a good dog, notices and charges the ship to defend it, only to get shot with a poison dart by Krem. Now, of course, Crypto they're in like a red sun planet, so they don't have their superpowers, and that's how the poison dart gets into a system and makes them sick. Criminal brigands steal her ship, and Kara is beside herself, half-powered on a red planet sun with her powers draining quickly, and her beloved dog at death's doorstep. Thus, she resolves to go after Krem, and Ruthie's along for the ride. Will they save the Kryptonian canine in time? Will Lobo decide to help them? What's Ruthie's real backstory? All is kind of revealed as the film progresses in a final showdown between Krem and Ruthie. Will Kara let Ruthie kill, or will our heroine save the day? Now, given the last time we did an episode back in December where we reviewed Superman, what did I think about that? Let me remind you all, yes, I absolutely hated Superman. So you're going to expect probably more of that. But before we get to that, let's let John speak. What did you think of the film?
So like you said, like I had no plans to see Supergirl. Like I'd maybe seen like one trailer, but I just like avoided the internet chatter about it because I just really wasn't that interested in seeing it. I went with you, like I knew, you'd been having your health issues and your dad's health issues, and you didn't really want to do much of anything. So the fact that you actually wanted to do this, I said, okay, let's do this. So we went, and again, I went in having like zero expectations, and
he didn't.
I'm sorry.
And you didn't see Superman, so you had no.
No, I did not. So again, zero expectations, and I won't say it's the best movie I've ever seen because it certainly isn't, but Also, I didn't feel it was a waste of 2 hours or whatever either. Like it was enjoyable enough for what it was. And, you know, I, and again, it's no masterpiece, like by any stretch of the imagination, but, you know, as has been so often happening, the internet's, it's not deserving of that, the trashing that it seems to have gotten.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think.
All right, that's fair. So like I said, people know I hate the Superman movie. So you're expecting me to go into a repeat performance. Nope, sorry. Again, the movie does have its flaws. It's about 20 to 30 minutes too short. It completely loses Ruthie as a character. Not that the character's not there. It's that in too many scenes, she's just told to go sit in the corner and stay out of the action. And she's not really given enough to do. It barely gives Lobo a cameo role, and they missed a lot of things they could have done with Lobo to make the film better. And Krem isn't presented as the character from the comic at all. The writer, Anna Nogueira, in my opinion, had no business writing this screenplay. Not that she's a bad writer, but this is her first screenplay for a feature-length movie ever. And you just don't put a fledgling writer like that on such a project, in my opinion. Sorry. Again, I'm not saying she's bad, just inexperienced, and it shows. She didn't do her research, in my opinion, and neither did the director, Gillespie. And there are many scenes that should have been shot, and maybe, to be fair, maybe they were shot and just were edited out. I don't know. Like I said, this film looks like it's 20 to 30 minutes truncated to me. But the film has a roughness, a truncated feel where elements of character and interaction between Kara and Ruthie, Kara and Lobo are entirely absent that, had they been there, would have really pulled the film together. But comparing that to Superman, the reason I hated Superman, however, was due to what James Gunn did with the character, the warping of Superman's purpose and the notion that Jor-El sent him to Earth to become a conqueror and take all the women for himself and repopulate the planet as a new Krypton. And they did mention that kind of sort of in passing in this film, and that made me grit my teeth again. But this film actually works against that whole concept, because Kara battles the brigands, who are actually human traffickers and steal women from other planets to be sold off to be used for whatever. And she has to even rescue some captured women in the climactic battle scene from drowning inside a downed spaceship that has crashed into a body of water. So, you know, there was, it's kind of weird that they did the dichotomy of that. There were other key things that just didn't play into Superman. I didn't like Corn Sweat in either film. He just seems like a dork in both films. And Kara feels more like a young woman who's just trying to pick up the pieces and rebuild her life. And yeah, she's cynical. She's jaded. She has survivor's guilt. But it's real. It's a character that, while it's not the Supergirl that fans, old school fans, may have wanted, because they want that classic Supergirl persona, I guess, this is a little more grounded, semi-realistic version, I think. And she recognizes the potential harm that Ruthie's quest for vengeance on Krem can bring her, because she's already dealing with that kind of anger and nowhere to put it. And she's trying constantly throughout the film, trying to get Ruthie to let it go and not go after Krem. Just let it go, let it go. And that's, you know, not what happens in the comic that it's based on. And people who watch the film will probably hate what Kara ultimately does in the film, but it fits in the context of who she is in this film. Not necessarily the character in the comic. And again, what happens in the film doesn't happen in the comic it's based on. But it does represent what's presented here. It does fit in context of what was given. I don't think it's a portrayal of who the character is. It's just an ideological difference from what you expect because of her cousin and what people are used to seeing in the comics. But if you actually know your Supergirl comics, you know, there have been many times over the years where she has been angered or outraged to the point of extreme violence and has attempted to kill or has killed opponents. So it's not like this has never been seen before from her. So what she does at the end of the movie is not out of character, just out of the audience's expectations. And I do think that's the difference in this movie's reception compared to the Superman movie, which did exceptionally well at the box office, but you know, it was different. A year ago was a different time, even, you know. People had a certain kind of expectation in Superman, and I did too. Only when I went to see it, I expected it to suck and then done piss me off with the Conqueror stuff. But like John and I said, we didn't come into this with any expectation whatsoever, with neither of us having read the source material and both of us kind of like ignoring the online buzz. We didn't have any sexual concerns over the actress. Millie Alcock looks great in the movie. And we're going to get into that fandom backlash in a moment with Chris. But we were just left with the story. And I think that if you just take the story for what it is, yes, it's got flaws. It's got, you know, plot holes and stuff like that. But it's just like an average to just slightly above average movie for what's on, you know, what's typically out there these days. And that's not worth, I mean, I guess if people's expectations were expecting, you know, I don't know, the Citizen Kane of superhero movies, then yeah, you'd be disappointed. But if you don't go in with a ridiculous level of expectation, I don't see why you would be disappointed in the film. But that comes into play social media. And what have we seen on social media, Chris?
Oh gosh, social media has just been horrendous. The sheer number of memes of Millie Alcock as a Neanderthal, or you know, some caveman type creature, it's just hard. It really is. It's disgusting. And I really, really do feel bad for Millie because she's quite a charming person, and seems to be very pleasant. I watch a show called Last Meals on YouTube, and she was on there, and she was perfectly pleasant and quite charming, so, and quite beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, she's not unattractive in the film. I mean, her hair is a mess, and she appears disheveled through much of the film, but that's parlayed into what she's going through with her depression. You know, I mean, you don't go walking around glamorous and shit when you're, you know, dealing with not really even wanting to be alive, you know, and that's kind of where the character's mindset is in a lot of ways. I mean, she's recovering from it, but she's still, you know, diving into, you know, alcoholism and escapism from her pain. And they didn't really, it's not that they didn't explain that. They just didn't go over the top and verbally spell this out. It's there. You can figure it out. That's what's going on in the movie visually. You know, if you're, you know, I don't think you need to have like what people do in comics with 16 pages of dialogue for one film.
Well, just the in general, America's obsession with how actors and especially superhero actors are supposed to look is just it's beyond disgusting. It really is.
Well,
even Henry Cavill. You know, there's been a picture going around of Henry Cavill, who is was between films at the time. He's not training for any, you know, superhero type of role, and he had a little chin. He was scruffy, and you know, they're like, oh, compare this to what he looked like when he was filming, you know, Man of Steel. Well, of course he's going to be, you know, he's allowed to look normal.
Well, yeah, but I mean, people have been talking about the stupidest things, like Russ Maharis was running off at the mouth about how it should have been Anna Joy Taylor as Supergirl.
No.
Why? 5'9", 120 pounds, soaking wet. Toothpick girl. I no, I'm fine with 5'5", 125 pound. She doesn't have to be, and it's I don't get it,
I mean, Millie Alcock is no Helen Slater, but who is?
At the same time, when they made Helen Slater's film, they said she wasn't pretty enough either.
Very true. Very true.
So, it doesn't really matter who's in the role. And that's kind of the point.
So what's John's opinion? Millie Alcock, hot or not?
I think she's attractive. Yeah.
Yeah, and it wasn't just
and certainly not deserving of the trashing she seems to have gotten.
Yeah, and it's not just. I mean, they complained about the makeup for Momoa for Lobo, which why? It doesn't make sense.
He looked like Lobo to me. So
yeah, but the one thing that was really missing was the scene in the bar. This is what should have happened. Lobo should have been the one who arm wrestled Kara. This is actually from the Brave and the Bold series. And they're in that story. Mark Waid makes it so that Kara lets Lobo beat her so that he'll help her do what she needs to do. That would have been the perfect thing to do to bring Lobo into the story. She lets Lobo beat her so that he'll help Ruthie, and then Lobo betrays them. Would have been the right thing to do, and they've just completely botched that. But it is what it is. The actress who plays Ruthie, Eve Ridley, is 15. In the comic, she's more like 11 or 12. And I think that's part of the why Ruthie doesn't get to do as much in the story in the movie, because they were kind of treating her like the kid that she is in the comic, even though the actress is older and actually function as a combatant. More. I think that was kind of like the dichotomy of what they were having difficulties with the filming on that. But I would have liked to have they've let her use the sword as an effective combatant a few times and just be out of her element, overwhelmed by too many opponents, and that's when Kara and Lobo assist. That would have been my take. What do you think, John?
I totally agree.
Okay. The other reason why I don't hate this movie, again, the hate and the spite by all the idiots online. I do think, and correct me if I'm wrong, the more a movie or TV show gets shit on online before we see it, the more lowered our expectations get. It doesn't necessarily make you like the movie more or the TV show more, as much as it gets you to really think, was this as bad as everybody else is saying it is?
Mm-hmm.
Is it bad because it's bad, or just because it isn't what you expected it to be or wanted it to be? And again, that gets Chris back to where we were. Like I say, Millie Alcock isn't wankable. I mean, bankable. Oh, no, you meant wankable. Enough for some of the audience. How does that affect your perceptions? And did that make you not want to see the movie?
Oh, I still want to see the movie, and I absolutely plan on seeing the movie, and I most likely will enjoy it to the fullest.
Well, I mean, see the movie as of yet. That's what I meant.
Oh, you mean like to go to the theaters and see it?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah. But it isn't because of her.
No, of course not.
No, it's because you're just,
I've been so busy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just haven't had time to get to the theater.
Yeah. Actually, I've seen it on Plex is coming already. So I don't know.
It's probably going to be out for streaming soon, I would imagine, because that's where they're going to make their money back. And we've talked about this. Just because a film doesn't perform amazingly or well enough at the box office doesn't mean it's dead in the water and there's never going to be a sequel and they're going to bury it. No, it's going to make its money back in streaming.
Yeah, eventually. Yeah. So, but I think part of it is also, like I said, the high expectations. Well, this movie made this, so this has to compete with that, and it's like, why? Every movie is its own movie. But,
Right.
Okay, so
I think I think a lot of people either aren't able or aren't willing to put aside their expectations and actually focus on the movie they got.
yeah,
Exactly. Because it's not the movie that was in their head, or like I said, the right actress didn't play, or actor. Yeah. So
yeah, and yeah, it's a shame because it again, I'm not saying it's the greatest thing in the world, and I've seen other people go exactly the opposite. Say, "Oh my God, this was an amazing movie," and I'm like, "Did we see the same movie?" but both John and I, we give it a 3.5, and knowing what Chris gave it on gave Superman versus my version of what I gave it, looking back on it, Chris is probably going to give it a 3 when he sees it too, I think. But we'll have to wait and see until he sees it, and he can tell us later.
the only thing I don't like, and I hate throughout most Superman mythology movies, is the constant need for taking away the hero's powers to move the plot along. You'd think by now they would be able to do something to move the plot along, or have a plot and a storyline that didn't involve having to take the hero's powers away.
Well, this particular storyline that was specific to this plot anyway, but I mean, and that did lead to some kind of silliness at the end, because the green sun radiation, it's like, first off, how do you get a green sun with kryptonite radiation anyway? Specifically.
Right.
And if you had that much, no amount of shielding from a spaceship would have protected her, and she would have known it was coming long before she got off the ship.
Exactly. Yeah, and there wouldn't have been any, oh my God, a glowing green kryptonite sun. Where did that come from?
Yeah. So that was a little bit of a weird thing there. But, like I said, the film is not by any means perfect. It has a lot of flaws. But, if you just go in and not expect the world of it, it's modestly entertaining. Whereas Superman, that one was too long, had too many characters, and just done making him be, I don't understand Kryptonian. What do you mean the Kryptonian sent me here to conquer Earth? That just blew my mind. I really hated that.
I'm still not convinced, and I've rewatched the movie. I don't think that was ever fully said that is exactly what the message was, or if it was Luthor that messed with the message.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's what it is. I think Luthor messed with it that way, because there's no way, me being a linguist, having a degree in linguistics, you're not going to translate a foreign language in a complete alien tongue and no connotation when you don't have anything to connect it to other than Earth interpretation. So if nothing else, he misinterpreted it through Earth's and his own ideology.
Exactly.
But still, I always thought that was a bad take, But anyway, so like I said, we gave it a 3.5, and so what's next for the show?
And I'm sure we're going to be right back here talking about the exact same thing, audience interpretation and people shitting on the movie when Highlander comes out. So
I don't know, because I forgot there was even going to be one.
Henry Cavill Highlander.
Yeah. Okay. So what's next for the channel? Truth be told, we're not ready to come back with a regular schedule yet. I had been planning on doing a certain type of animating for a new opening sequence. And Chris and I had started on it, but I've realized during the process that it's not the right thing to do. I was in that process, I was giving too much credibility and notice to other people's channels, and it's not an untruthful representation of events and what I think of those people. I'm giving them way too much of my space and my time by doing that. And so we're not going to do that. So Chris and I need to come up with something new for the new season. And of course, we've already talked about the health crises for both me and Chris. That's kind of set the channel aside for a while. And Chris has been trying to get multiple projects off the ground as well. We'll talk more about those in future after we get back on a regular schedule. And we don't have a timetable, but hopefully either later this month or next month, we'll be back with the regular schedule. However, if you do like the kind of comic reviews and interviews and movies and stuff that we have provided on this channel over the last 6 years, I would like you to mosey on over to Jameson Rohre's Comics for All and give him a subscribe. The link to his channel is in the description of this video. He kind of picked up the ball when we took our hiatus, and he's really done a really nice job on his channel. And I've been egregiously amiss at not giving him flowers, not mentioning him on my my channels, and but it's a great channel, and it's right here on YouTube, and it's YouTube at Comics for All. Be sure to check him out. Tell him the Raven sent you. But in the meantime, I want to show you, if I can, if it'll let me share the tab. There we go. This is his tab for Comics for All. And he's got 296 videos. And everything you see, these ink and insights, these are interviews with different creators about different independent books in the comics industry. And he's just got so much stuff in here. I mean, there's creators I don't know. And not that I know everybody in the business, far from it, but it just shows that it's great to have someone else in the industry looking to promote the art form overall. And he's got a lot of stuff that are meant for kids. He brings it from a perspective as a librarian. He is a currently unemployed librarian. The library that he was working for cut him due to budget cuts. But he's been running this since the beginning of the year and just really doing a bang-up job. And he does some nice reviews, and he covers not just interviews with people, but I'm trying to find some of the reviews that he's gotten here, but you can see there's just quite a bit of stuff here covering everything you can think of. And I'm just really pleased with that. And, you know, in some ways, I'll even say it, Jameson does a better job than me in some ways, because he's got he's really worked his butt off and gone and got stuff, and he's covered stuff that I won't cover because that's not my flavor, I guess you could say. And I think that's really cool that he does that. So again, be sure you check that out. And when we get to regular schedule again, I'll be sure to have Jameson on the show so we can talk about different philosophies of running a channel and why we do things the way we do it. But he's more from the librarian's perspective and wanting to promote comics as reading material. And I just really appreciate that. And I think it's something that John agrees with, because it's more akin to what you were doing back with Comics for the Classroom.
Mm-hmm.
And so, make sure you check that out. Again, that is Comics for All. And let me share the tab again, youtube.com/Comics for All. Be sure to let them know I sent you there. And so until then, we thank you for watching, and we'll see you when we see you. But we'll try and get back as soon as we can with some cool books to review and stuff like that, and get back on the horse, shall we say. It's time to ride, isn't it, Chris? So yep.
Whatever that was.
Yeah. Yeah. So until then, quote the Raven, nevermore.
More.